Hello, I'm Terry David Mulligan. This is A Mulligan Stew, the podcast. Music, film, food, and wine. Speaking of wine, there will be wine stories coming over the next couple of weeks because the Vancouver International Wine Festival is ongoing. 160 wineries pouring some 600 or 700 wines. California is the featured wine region. I know one of the interviews that I'm going to play for you, and that is, for the first time ever, Gina Gallo in conversation with yours truly and her husband, Jean-Charles Boisset. Between the two of them, well, they've created wine empires, business empires. Gina is a Gallo, and Jean-Charles is his whole planet unto himself. This is about Rich Hope, and he's just released his newest album. It's called I'm All Yours. And if you look at the shot of Rich on the front, you'll swear you're looking at the Clash somewhere in London, but it's not. It's Rich Hope. And when you listen to him, all of a sudden you start to hear influences like Doug Sahm, another guy who was brilliantly talented. And Rich Hope, he just knows his music. He knows his music history. I'm All Yours is his first full album since 2009's Whip It On Ya. And he started in Edmonton with a group. His first group was called the Taxi Crabs. How about that? They evolved into Rich Hope and his Evil Doers. And then Rich Hope and the Blue Ridge Rangers. So the mix of Rich Hope's music is Tex-Mex, border radio with horns, Doug Sahm-inspired lyrics, little flaming groovies. He covers one of their tunes. A little New Jersey garage sound. Because Rich is busy and I'm busy, I had to meet him at his place of business. He's a barber, is Rich Hope. As a matter of fact, it's his shop, the Belmont Barber Shop, 111 East Hastings, just below street level. Busy shop too, my friends. So in order to get this interview with Rich, I had to sit in the chair. He cut my hair and talked at the same time. That's what the noise is all about. And just a heads up, Rich and the Evil Doers are playing 2 dates in April in Alberta. I'll tell you about them after the interview. Here's a conversation with a great rocker, Rich Hope. We have not come to some studio or some rehearsal hall. We have come to where?
The Belmont Barber Shop, which I own and operate.
Located where, Rich? Where are we, in fact? Because we're down below the street level here.
It's true. We're at 111 East Broadway in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia.
Kind of feels like we're in Brooklyn.
It kind of does, doesn't it? A lot of people say that. They like the basement vibe here. Tucked away a little bit, your own little clubhouse.
I just realized, by the way, we're going to do this in real time. Rich is one of the stylists here. Is that correct? The word?
Well, barber.
Rich is a barber stylist, hands-on person who's going to trim me. There's a before and after shot on the website. And we're going to talk about this album. I need the glasses just so I can look at the questions, and then I'll take them off again.
That sounds good. I'll cut around them.
Thanks, man. Mm-hmm. No, hold on a second. I'm just going to look. Okay. As I said before, this is his 4th album. It's called I'm All Yours, and it's your first full album since 2009?
Yeah, it's the first full-length LP. I did a bunch of singles and EPs and stuff. And yeah, so seems like it's been a while, but we were doing things.
So did you have these songs sort of hanging around? Were they fully formed or what?
None were fully formed. Some were hanging around. Some have been hanging around even longer than 2009. And yeah, we really did sort of raid the pantry for little ideas here and there. Like the first singles actually from back in our old John Ford days, the band I used to be in. And it was just kind of a sketch of a song, and I thought it would be nice to see what we could do with that. And then other ones like Creepstone, that just came right out of being in the studio and just thinking up things on the spot.
It sounded like a jam, Creepstone. I mean, it's got that great groove to it.
Yeah, it almost was. Like a couple guys went outside for a break, and Eric Nielsen, the bass player on the record, and I just said, hey, check this thing out. And I played this riff, and he goes, oh, that's weird. That's a lot like this one that I've got. And so we played it, and we literally had the song in about 4 minutes, and then fleshed it out from there. So we just kind of built it.
Okay, let's go back just a bit for a second, because you were born in Edmonton. The first band you formed, I think, was the Taxi Crabs. But did they throw you out of town, or did you move to the coast because that's where you felt you should be?
I moved to the coast because I was very, very sick of going to school and university, and I was really passionate about snowboarding, actually. And I moved out just to live in Whistler for a couple of years.
What were you taking to university?
I was doing an English and a history degree at the beautiful University of Alberta.
Okay.
And it was just to go and do some snowboarding and hanging around. And I took my guitar because I figured I could probably make a living just playing in bars. And that kind of started it. I really kind of cut my teeth playing by myself every night in front of a lot of people.
Okay, what year was this?
That was like 92, 93.
And who were the bands of the day?
Oh, man. I mean, who weren't the bands of the day? Nirvana, Pearl Jam.
No, but here.
Bloodhoney. Oh, here. Well, God.
Who did you remember seeing?
Who do you remember seeing? There was a great, really, really hard band I really liked called Big Gulp.
Yeah.
And there was there was a Econoline Crush and Pure and God.
The Doll Boys?
The Doll Boys, yeah. And then there were all the nascent origins of what am I trying to say? Not Limb Lifter, but
yes.
the guys, Kearns' band.
Those guys.
All those guys, they're really youngest days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did you fit with what they were doing, or the music in your head? Was it not going to work with those guys?
Yeah, no, I didn't fit at all.
So that's what I want to know about.
Well,
because I love this album. I got to tell you this.
Okay.
I love this album, and I want to know how long you've been packing around these tunes, and how long you've been packing around this expression of what you hear music to be.
Well, that's a good question. I've probably been packing it around since I was a kid, but it went away for a really long time, like it was dormant while I grew up. You know what I mean? Like you get to your 20s and I started to eschew all of the origins and listen to 90s bands and try to find a sound. And I I emulated a lot of that for a while on my first efforts. And
did you lean punk?
Did I lean punk? I think that was kind of in me, because when I discovered The Clash in grade 7, that felt like my first band that was mine. So I always had a little bit of that just in me. I think the first review I ever got playing in my band, and this was now into the later 90s, but it might have been Mike Usinger of The Straight, but he referenced Wilco and Husker Du. And I thought, well, that's probably what's going on.
Okay, but you know what I love now?
What?
I've seen 3 references to Doug Sahm.
Yes, yeah.
In some of the reviews.
Yeah.
He's one of my all-time favorite guys.
See, that's why I like you.
And he did, when he was in San Francisco, he did an album called Honky Blues, in which he put a horn section with his, right? I only have it on vinyl.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing in some of your tunes.
That's a huge influence. So in 98, when I met the guys from John Ford and I joined that band, I just knew that was a band I needed to join because they were like-minded. They were listening to the Byrds and they were listening to Graham Parsons, and they introduced me to Doug Sahm, and we liked the MC5. And I'm like, I got to play with these guys and write songs with these guys. So we did that for 5 years, and I think that's when that started to bring back all of that old stuff. And I've been a huge fan of Doug Sahm ever since, and really, in a lot of ways, the most important thing about his influence is just that whole, just do what you want to do and let that sound be your sound, because that's what he did.
There's another influence in there, and that's, of course, his piano player was Augie Meyer.
Augie Meyer.
And he had that Farfisa.
Oh, yeah.
And you got that little Farfisa thing going.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was a huge thing. I was really, really trying to bring out that kind of, that 60s Nuggets, Doug Sahm, roller rink, organ feel on every song. I love that about that music, Question Mark and the Mysterians and the Animals stuff. I love those sounds.
Actually, you know what? That first single,
It Come Alive.
Yep. Reminds me of the Animals in their early days. I don't know why. It just does. It's got that same chunk.
I think it's got that same chunk. It was definitely coming from that thing. That's actually one of those ones that was laying around from the John Ford days, and Chris had brought it to the band in an effort to write kind of a psych nugget single, and we just never really did anything with it. And then when I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, I could. Yeah. This needs an organ, and it needs to go this direction.
Okay, well, let's play the damn thing, and then we'll keep going.
Yeah, play the damn thing.
We're cutting hair, okay? Rich Hope, check this out.
Well, I love to see you walking. Ain't it strange how people talk, babe? I want to blow into the room, girl, and it makes me wanna groove you. Now, baby, you was born to raise hell with just one look. Yeah, I can tell. Cause I haven't heard your voice in days. I've been trying real hard to stay strong, but girl, you keep me waiting. Ha! And then you come along and I come alive, baby. Yeah, I come alive, baby. Oh, I come alive, girl. Oh, I come alive. Girl, don't leave me out on the side. But just this once, would you let it slide? Would you let it slide? Come alive, baby. Yeah, come alive, girl. Oh, no, come alive, girl. Yeah, come alive, baby. Yeah, come alive.
If you checked out the website, I'm with Rich Hope. He's the barber today. He's doing my hair, and he's cutting what's left. And you would know him from well, some of you, if you're still with us, the Taxi Crabs in Edmonton, but also Rich Hope and his Evil Doers and the Blue Ridge Rangers. Actually, you know what? Has country always been sort of in you somehow, some way?
Absolutely.
And it just got recognized with this album?
Yes. It has always, like, my earliest stuff was Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings. My dad played that stuff all the time. The Byrds, Sweetheart of the Rodeo. Always with me. And I don't think it ever comes out of anything I do. And when I sat down to do this record, I literally said to myself, I'm just going to make a Rich Hope record, because I'm like, is it going to be rock? Is it going to be whatever? And when I sat with the producer, Felix Fung,
You mean Funky Felix Fung?
Funky Felix Fung.
Yeah.
He really did even reference the country stuff about what I do that he really liked. And though we weren't going to put it in, in any literal sense, it would be there. And it's always there.
I'm getting some Tex-Mex, some border radio. It's like me reviewing a wine. I'm getting a little, I'm getting a touch of Tex-Mex, a little border radio, some Muscle Shoals horns. Tell me about Golden Clouds. That's a Flaming Groovy song.
That is a Flaming Groovy song from their early EP Sneakers. And I came upon it while I was doing the Blue Ridge Rangers thing. And I thought, that's a neat song because it came off kind of like, almost, it reminded me of the Grateful Dead, the way they sang it and did it, and the fuzz guitar on it. So when we played it in the Rangers, we would play it with fuzz pedal steel. And then when we did the record, we were like, let's just bang it out as a rock song and just do it. And, when I listened back to their version, I'm like, oh yeah, ours almost sounds more rock and roll now, just because we probably just played it louder.
Blown Away. Where the hell did Blown Away come from?
Blown Away. That one is straight out of the mind and heart of Adrian Mack, the drummer in the band. He had brought that one back in the John Ford days, and we were sitting around the studio, and I just thought of it. So I'm like, what was that old song you had about the thing and the thing? And he's like, and he sang it to me. I'm like, let's do that. That's a good song. So we did it, and we needed to write a few little extra lyrics here and there. And he had this great idea where the end of that first verse is just horns. And I just thought that was absolutely brilliant. Anyway, we just took a crack at it, and it came out right.
Tell me about the horn guys.
Oh, the horn guys. Derry Byrne and Jerry Cook. Derry plays the trumpet, and Jerry's a saxophonist, and they're just two of the best guys in Vancouver. And I had done some stuff with Steve Dawson, and they were on it, and I just I'm getting those guys.
Did you have to rent a baritone saxophone?
No, Jerry comes fully equipped with all sizes of sax.
Love the scoops. Thank you.
Yeah.
Please forgive us for our past trespasses when they took religion from the masses. We did not demonstrate. No, we did not demonstrate. Sitting there with both hands on the table. Jesus, Mary, Joseph, John, and Mabel. Let the heavens fall all around.
Some Kind of Love was the last track we recorded for the record. I was sort of counting things up and getting an idea how the album was going to flesh out. And I kind of thought, it really needs another jumper. It needs something. And I was listening to a fair bit of kind of soul and some Small Faces. And I thought, well, it'd be cool to do kind of a stomp, a soul R&B number. And, the Small Faces would kind of just play it with a little guitar attack and do it like that. So we sort of approached it in that way. And Eric Nielsen arranged the horns on it, and it just came out just like that. Pretty natural near the end.
Okay, Rich, let's talk about some interesting things. One is the name of the label.
The name of the label, Planned Obsolescence Recording and Novelty.
That's Porn Records.
Porn Records. I never thought of that. I'm sure Chris will be
didn't.
excited to hear that when I tell him.
Porn Records. You recorded in Little Red Studios here?
Yeah, Little Red Sounds here, yeah. Which was down on Heatley and Hastings. And we got it done, and they got rent-evicted, literally, I think it was the day after. And Felix has set up shop out in New Westminster in a really great, even bigger space. And they've got an awesome facility right now. So Little Red Sounds is alive and well.
Okay, remind me again the year that you arrived here.
The year I arrived here, like Whistler, 1992. And then I got to the Lower Mainland in 94.
How much has the music scene changed in Vancouver in those years?
Well, so much. As you know, it was so... there was so much industry here in the 90s. You know, there was the music biz. There was go to the West Coast because it's like the new Toronto, and there was bands here, and they were doing it, and Much Music was doing things. And, you know, I think it went through a period like at the end of the 90s where that whole rave culture took over, and there wasn't a lot going on. I remember it was even hard to get a gig.
The clubs were closing?
Clubs were closing. Every club closed. And then, you know, so if you weren't really in the railway, it was hard to get anywhere to play, which is, and luckily we got developed by Janet at the railway, and we kind of really came up there. And then, you know, early 2000s, things started to come back, and you could do Richards and the Pick, and there was rock again. But the scene's just very, there's a really good kind of a kind of a country-ish rock scene happening in the city right now. It's ultra independent because everybody's trying to just do their own thing.
Do you still have to rely on airplay, or is this all internet driven?
I'd like to say rely on airplay, but there's so few stations like CKUA that can bring any impact to artists like us doing this, because it's all corporate owned stuff.
And where do you fit? Where do you fit?
I sort of feel like I fit somewhere in the middle of it, honestly. We just have to rely on a little bit of this and some internet driven stuff, and ultimately, like, the one thing that never changes is if you can get out there and play. That's really what you have to do.
Okay, I know exactly where you fit, frankly, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to answer my own question, and that is, you fit right between Holger Peterson's blues show and Lionel Rolf's R&B show that follows me, and so you got the stew in the middle, and everything that I believe what rock and roll and great music can be, I'm hearing in this album.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much.
Pretty good, huh?
I think that's not so bad. You should write my bio.
It's been written. Scott Smith on steel?
He's on pedal steel on Heartbreaker.
Does that automatically make it a country song?
No, it automatically doesn't. It automatically, I think, because of the rock leanings of this record, it becomes a weird instrument that shows up at the end. And I think it's funny, I think we had said, there's not going to be any pedal steel on this record. And then we did that, and the idea of putting pedal steel on that song seemed more left field. So we did it. And Felix said, let's not just put it at the end. I wanted it just on the outro, just to show up out of nowhere. And he's like, no, we got to have it on the whole thing.
Craze that gripped the nation. Heartbreaker is flooding
Okay, I want to do a follow-up on the Blown Away, because I wrote this to myself when I was listening to it.
Yeah.
Where did this come from? This is country blues with horns.
Yeah, it's country blues with horns. Well, I mean, it comes from our collective love of Doug Sahm.
Yeah.
Like, who else plays country blues with horns but Doug Sahm? And like by way of that, maybe a little bit Willie Nelson, but anybody who lived long enough in Austin, Texas, can tell you that kind of stew exists there because people don't have boundaries. They just do what they do.
It's just music.
Yeah, exactly. There's no boundaries.
All right, what are you going to do with this? Are you going to tour? You want to get out there and stretch a bit?
Yeah, we're going to do a little few shows out in Alberta in April from the 10th to the 14th. We'll probably have some sort of outdoor festivals and things in the summertime, and I'm hoping we can get back to Europe and play a little bit again. But really, I'm just letting it do its work, and we'll see what comes.
Those dates in Alberta again. Do you know where you're playing?
We've got most of them nailed down. I know we're doing on the 10th, we're in Kamloops. On the 12th, we're in Edmonton at the Rocky Mountain Ice House. On the 13th, we're in Camrose at the Bailey Theatre. And on the 14th, we're at the Mile Zero Wine Bar in Penticton.
Nice.
Because, I love a wine bar, too.
I know you love a wine bar. You got a website?
We do. It's richhope.ca.
And Facebook?
There's Facebook. You look up Rich Hope on Facebook. There's probably an official page and a personal page and all that crap. There is a Bandcamp page. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, all of it. Come and listen to the record. It's really good.
Thanks for the cut.
You're so welcome. It's been a pleasure to do this with you, Terry.
I don't think I've had my foot rubbed while I talked wine with Charlie Smith from Walla Walla, but I've never been trimmed and talked at the same time.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've done an interview and cut anybody's hair at the same time, so we're even.
All right. If the music is as good as the trim, we're all happy. Thank you, man.
You're welcome, Terry. Thank you very much.
Hope you enjoyed our conversation with and the music of Rich Hope. Name of the album is I'm All Yours. He appears April the 12th at Rocky Mountain Ice House in Edmonton, April the 12th. April the 13th at the Bailey Theatre in Camrose. I want to thank Rich for the cut and the chat. A, check out the tunes. B, check out his barbershop, 111 East Hastings. Thank you for listening. This is Mulligan Stew, the podcast. You can subscribe on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Thank you for listening. And all of the details can be found at mulliganstew.ca.